Hey guys, my name is Eric, and today we're going to be talking about the Palmetto State Armory Sabre 15 Mark 12 Mod S. Super excited about this one. It was actually a really fun project to do. Before we get started, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Also, make sure you share this video with someone who is thinking about getting another AR or looking at Palmetto State Armory for something. Definitely share this with them so they can use it for research. Also, comment if you have any Palmetto State Armory rifles or what your experiences have been with Palmetto State Armory. Do you like them? Do you not like them? What has your experience been? Before we get started, I want to talk about a continuous sponsor of the channel, and that is Wetworks. Now, Wetworks is a nylon company out of Texas run by a husband and wife, and they make high quality gear like plate carriers, chest rigged, and concealment options for the prepared citizen. They have very, very comfortable and simplistic designs that allow you to be very comfortable when you're out in the field and to run whatever mission you got going on, and you're not going to be dealing with a very complex piece of equipment. So they have a really high quality product, and also really want to make sure that you are outfitted with the best gear possible. So if you want to save some money or you're looking at buying some gear, go check out the description of this video or the ticker at the bottom of the screen to save some money on your next purchase. Special thanks to Wetworks for sponsoring this video. All right guys, so jumping right into the Sabre 15 Mark 12 Mod S or Mod Sabre. I just want to go full disclosure, Palmetto State Armory did send me this rifle. There also has been some additional things that have been done to the rifle to configure it, so it's not in the base model that you would actually get it from the website. But we'll talk about the specs, then we'll talk about my experiences, and kind of go from there. So real down and dirty, first thing that everybody's going to ask, what is the cost on this? So if you go check it out, it is actually $1499.99. So pretty honestly in middle of the pack when it comes to rifles. For those who don't know, the Sabre line is the higher end line from Palmetto State Armory. So they have their standard lineup, then they also have a middle lineup, and then they also have a Sabre lineup. So they have the Sabre lineup doesn't just cover ARs, it covers pistols, it covers 308s, distance gun, gas guns, all different types, just higher end made or higher end quality with higher end parts. So this one is the Mark 12 Mod S. Now, this barrel is in 14.5. It is a cold hammer forged standard government profile barrel. It does have a mid-length gas system, and it's not a heavy profile barrel. Now, on the muzzle device, whenever they do send it in, it does come, this is the 14.5, it's pin and welded. They do send a JMac Customs muzzle brake with it. It is a dead air chemo device. When I initially got it in, I ran that for a little bit, but because I want to have better flash suppression at night, because I did run this a lot unsuppressed, I wanted to have a flash hider, so I went with my local gunsmith and had them swap out the muzzle device for a Griffin Armament 3-prong flash hider. The 3-prong flash hider does have a dual lock mounting solution for suppressors. So the suppressor that I am running on this is the Optimus 6. Griffin Armament has the dual lock version. They also have a taper mount version. The Dual Lock 6, I did a video on this not too long ago, probably a few months back, but it is a 3D printed low back pressure suppressor, and it is extremely high quality. It is very durable, and also it does release a lot of that back pressure, so that way you don't get it right in the face. This is chambered in a 6mm arc size diameter bore. They do have the Optimus 7 that is already out. It just came out recently, and that's in 30 cal. Really awesome suppressor. I talked about it in that video, but as far as low back pressure and also good sound suppression and flash suppression, it does really well. So make sure you guys go check out that video. Now, kind of where the meat and potatoes is this rail. It is a PRI rail. If you guys have any following on Mark 12s or Mod 0 Mark 12s, I'm a huge fanatic for Mark 12s. The original Mod O version had a PRI rail. Now, when you do get it from the website, it does have just the actual handguard. It does not have the top rail, which I'll talk about. That does not come stock with this when you buy it complete as a rifle or even the upper. But the PRI rail is actually kind of expensive. It is carbon fiber, so if you bought it on your own, it's you're probably going to pay about $300 to $400 just for the rail alone. Now, the one thing I like about this rail is obviously the aesthetic of it. It's really cool. This was a technology that was kind of at the early days of the GWAT, where guys were trying to figure out how to free float their barrels with their handguards. And so PRI has had this for a long time. and it's still very popular today because of all the retro throwbacks with Mark 12s. And it's an awesome rail. The only thing that's not awesome is obviously mounting it. It's very complicated as far as mounting the PRI rail. However, you get it from Palmetto State, it's already going to be mounted for you. So really cool that they have that, and especially for the price point, it's a really good deal for having this rail on here. Now, the Mark 12 did have multiple types of models. I actually have a Mark 12, it's not clone correct, but I have a Mark 12 Mod O, and it's an 18-inch with an SPR barrel, rifle length gas system, and that one has the exposed gas block that you see that is so common with a lot of Mark 12s. So they also had another variant called the Mark 12 Mod H. Now the Mod H was a 16-inch barrel, but this one's a 14.5, a little bit shorter. Obviously with the pin and welded device, you're gonna be at 16 inches. And so kind of a rendition on that, and they call it the Mod S for, I'm assuming, Sabre. I've always wanted to get a general purpose rifle that had a Mark 12 Mod-esque or a Mod Zero-esque feel to it. And so this is why it really caught my attention when I was looking at Palmetto State. The top portion of this, I do have a PRI full-length monolithic rail up here. Now what this does is it is something that's available on the Mark 12 standard that they have on the website. So if you got a standard Mark 12, it will come with this top rail. This top rail really adds a lot more stiffener to the actual handguard and locks it into the upper receiver very well, so it's extremely stiff. That's why I liked it. Also, it does raise your optics and all of your equipment up a little bit, almost by a 1/4 inch. And so it is a very robust piece of equipment. So it does add a little bit of weight to it. They do have this for sale on their website. However, it's sold separately, and I think currently it's out of stock. Most of the time these things are going to be out of stock, and they're very hard to find. So I was able to secure one of these and from Palmetto State to be able to add that look and that stiffener to this gun itself. Now on the upper receiver, it is a standard upper receiver from the Sabre lineup. It is also completely Cerakoted in this color, so it'll probably get spray painted eventually, but the Cerakote is so good that I just haven't spray painted it yet. As far as the low receiver, it's a standard mil-spec low receiver. Now what they do come with is on the standard mil-spec low receiver, you do get the Sabre trigger. It is a 2-stage trigger. It is not a drop-in, which I really like. The 2-stage trigger is very nice. Very good feel to it. It kind of reminds me of like a Geisley in terms of the feel. Really clean break. And we'll actually do a little bit of a trigger travel here. So completely cleared out. So I've got my travel right here. I got all that take up, if you can hear that. It's all take up. Now I'm at the wall. Press, press, press. It's about a 3.5 pound trigger is about what it feels like. Let's hear the reset. Very short reset. And now I go back to my 2-stage prep. So very nice trigger. I've actually been very impressed with it. I was impressed with it when I saw the Sabre M110 clone. They had the same or a similar trigger in that one as well. You are getting a higher performing trigger out of the box. As far as the lower receiver, they also have an ambidextrous safety, very similar to the M110. I think there's going to be standard with all of their Sabre lineup, where you have a Radian ambidextrous safety and B5 furniture. So you have a B5 trigger guard and also a B5 grip. Really cool that they add in some enhanced features for their Sabre lineup. Now on this, I did add in the Troy ambidextrous mag release. I love the Troy Industries ambidextrous mag release. It is, for a lefty, an easy hit. It's not too easy, but it's also not too hard. I don't have to directly push into it. I can kind of be at an angle when I want to do a mag release, and I get a lot of leverage on that mag release. So when I drop that mag, it's super easy and deliberate. Not that I'm actually going to bump it, but I did add in that mag release, and then also, of course, I added in a mag pull bad lever for lefties. It's awesome, even for righties, but for lefties, as far as your reloads and stuff like that, it's a very good piece of equipment to have on your build. Now, one thing that this did not have that I thought would be kind of cool, maybe in the future, is if they put in maybe like an HRF Concepts magwell on here. Definitely would add a little bit, a lot more value to what is already a high value package. But adding a magwell, or maybe if they develop their own, that'd be pretty sick. Is something that would be cool to see on these, and also an ambidextrous mag release. Like you can get the Troy Industries ones and throw those in there. So it'd be really nice to see Palmetto start adding more ambi controls to their Sabre lineup. Now on the back, the castle nut is staked. The one thing I was kind of surprised not to see was a QD backplate here. I thought that would for sure be there, but they just have a standard QD backplate. And one of the things that they do add that is an upgrade is they have an ambidextrous radiant charging handle that did come stock with the M110 clone as well. So they're already adding upgrades to this thing, and those are 2 upgrades that I typically would do right off the bat besides the trigger. So that's really neat that you get a radiant charging handle out the box. As far as the buffer, it is an H2 buffer in the buffer tube. So they go with a heavier buffer, which makes this a lot more of a soft feeling recoil impulse on this gun. And then on the stock, they did actually send it with a B5 stock. I swapped it out for a Car 15 stock. Obviously it's a stock because it's a rifle, pin and welded for the muzzle device. And then I actually had my buddy Andrew from Heritage Firearms gave me this 3D printed cheek riser that is an old school M16 or Car 15 style cheek riser, which allows you, it has this weird overhang, and it allows, when I have it collapse, the charging handle to go in that cavity so I can still rack it. Now, one of the things that does suck about that is I had guys where they'd rack it and they'd actually smash their fingers on that. And I did it actually a couple of times, not gonna lie. So you definitely have to kind of watch out for it, otherwise you'll get that bite on that cheek riser. I'm running a Lunar Concepts contour sling. You can get it at Wiseman Company. As you guys know, shoot with Ben all the time. We run open gym together, but you can go check those out on his website. Now, talking about the other accessories that are on here that I added. I am running a Unity flip to center magnifier mount. This is a 5x magnifier from EOTech. Love this magnifier. So I get almost the same as an LPVO. It's like a 1:5 essentially. So 5x magnifier. I am running a Unity mount on a Aimpoint Comp M4. I wanted to kind of go with a heavier duty style dot. I just think the look of it looks great too. Comp M4, man, they are bomb proof and used by the military still, been used by the military for a long period of time. And these things are just tanks. Like, it's really hard to kill them. And the dot is very, very crisp. Now on the front of this, I am running the Holosun Iris. This actually was sent to me by Optics Planet. Very impressed with this laser so far. It has visible IR, visible laser, IR illuminator, IR laser, and it also has a dial to tighten or widen the circle focus of the IR illuminator. Very impressed so far. And so really cool to see Holosun push that out, you know. And honestly, Holosun's put out a lot of good products, in my opinion, in terms of what you get for the money. They do a good job on a lot of that stuff. So on the other side, for the flashlight, I'm trying out a Firebird Electro Optics flashlight. It is a very, very direct beam flashlight. They sent this to me to try out. Actually, it was kind of unannounced, and so it just showed up, and I was like, what's this? And there's a handwritten note talking about it. It's like, oh, I'll give it a try. It does have a Surefire Scout footprint, so I can run the Overbore system swivel mount, which allows the light to get very close to the laser and the handguard. So very low profile and sleek back. As far as the sling retainer, I do have a Bubba tab from Lunar Concepts as well to kind of wrap all this up in a nice, pretty bow. So how is the gun? How does it shoot? One of the things that I'm looking for, obviously, if you're going to be paying $1,500 for a rifle, you're now in the ballpark of things like a Daniel Defense, BCM, you know, Aero Precision, I guess. I don't know how Aero is doing these days, but you're in the ballpark of those types of rifles, Griffin Armament. And so we're seeing Palmetto State really trying to up their game as far as QC and quality control and pushing out higher quality guns. The Sabre lineup is that answer to that demand. So the question is it worth the same as getting other rifles? One of the things that you get out of this, you get a cold hammer forged barrel. Like, those are already going to be very hard to find in a lot of upper end builds. You still have a lot of standard barrels. I think this is the only cold hammer forged barrel that I own right now. So this barrel is gonna last forever. It is a 1-in-7 twist and does really well. So Palmetto State Armory also actually sent me different types of match grade ammo, and I'm actually going to group those, or I actually grouped those to see how well it did for accuracy with their AAC ammo. So they sent me 40 rounds of each type. The accuracy standard with these, with the AAC that they sent, is actually pretty good. So accuracy is looking really decent on this. The other thing also is the recoil impulse is really nice. It's not over-gassed. The H2 buffer does quite a bit to be able to take a lot of the bite of the recoil out, and it has so far never jammed. Now, Looking at this one, it's actually pretty darn dry. I haven't lubed it, but despite the fact that it's still been dried out and not lubed for a while, it's still running. So haven't had any malfunctions. A lot of the brass is either being ejected at 4 o'clock or about 4 o'clock, 3:30. And when I have a suppressor on there, it's usually gonna be about 2 o'clock, which is pretty typical of what you should be seeing in a well-regulated, well-gassed gun. A lot of guys will assume, okay, well, if it's from this company, it's got to be high quality because of how much I'm paying. That is not always the case. A lot of those companies are going to overgas their guns because they're scared of reliability issues. And the fact that this is relatively well gassed and reliable is honestly the best of both worlds. It's what you want to see. Now, can that be said for every Palmetto State Armory product? No, but I also haven't shot every Palmetto State Armory product. A lot of the times on the internet, I see folks who are ragging on them or dogging them, and yeah, will there be some QC issues? Sure, especially when you're producing as many guns as they are. You're bound to have some issues or some things that fall through the cracks. But anytime I've met someone in person in class that's running a Palmetto State, I have never had them have an issue or even say they've had an issue. I've only heard about it on the internet. So a lot of the issues with reliability from Palmetto State, I know there's some people that have had them. However, in person, I've only seen a couple. A large majority of people have a very good experience with Palmetto State. Not trying to toot Palmetto State Armory's horn, and no, I'm not on their payroll, but what I really like about them is their mission set. Their mission set is to outfit every responsible citizen with a good and economically priced rifle. So, there's a lot of companies out there in the gun industry space that, they're in the industry, doesn't make them Pro 2A. That is not the case with Palmetto State Armory. They are actually fighting for your rights. They're fighting for the fact that they want you to have a rifle and be outfitted with one at a price point that's not going to break the bank, and overall generally reliable. So this was really neat to see. It shows that Palmetto State Armory is really trying to broaden their horizons and listen to the customer base. They're trying to listen to what you, the shooter, are looking for. So now all these products that used to be unobtainium, certain rifles that are way outside your price point, whenever you put them together with all the accessories, they're trying to make for an affordable price point already put together out of the box. So I really like what they're doing. I think they actually have a very good connection with the customer base and the shooters, and they're always listening to what you guys want. I've noticed that from being a company in the gun industry myself, and I think it's really cool, and I highly encourage that. And maybe there'll be some other companies out there that are taking notes about what Palmetto State Armory is doing, understanding the pulse of the industry and the pulse of the shooter, because I think there's guys at Palmetto State that actually legit shoot. So some of the other things I want to talk about real quick is they also do have other muzzle device options. So I saw that they had a Surefire War Comp option, they had some silencer co-options, as well as some other dead air options as well. So you don't have to just use the JMAC Customs, they have other different types. But I'm honestly probably gonna spray paint this thing and continue to run it. We were able to stretch it out to 500, no problems at all. So the accuracy is there, running the AAC ammo and also some standard 55 grain. With that being said, 500 rounds of the 55 grain was actually provided by True Shell. Those guys really help make this channel happen. So if you guys are curious, are you able to put high round count on that, and what's the round count look like on that? It would not be possible without True Shot. So they are an absolute awesome sponsor of the channel to be able to get some actual testing on these products that you guys see, and help give you that little bit additional information for your research. But overall, guys, this thing is an awesome system. For the price point, I think that they have really done a great job of building a quality rifle. And as we continue to run this, if there's any updates or any changes, maybe there's reliability issues, we'll bring it back up to you. So with that being said, I'm now going to hand it back to myself, Eric, for an encouraging word. All right, guys, before I get into my encouraging word part, I was talking to my buddy Dallas and Seth, and we were just talking about Palmetto State Armory and what the stigma is about Palmetto State. And it's interesting because as shooters, when we are looking at maybe someone who's getting into shooting and they're trying to grow as a shooter. So maybe they get into a Palmetto State Armory, a lower end rifle, very economically priced, and now they're getting better in their skills and they need to upgrade their rifle to something that's gonna match their skill set. Well, in the past, it was like, well, I recommend them go to BCM, or I recommend them go to Daniel Defense, or go with some other company. And it's like Palmetto State has evolved so much, where if you look at their actual Sabre lineup, where it uses Sabre furniture, it's the same exact buffer system, same exact trigger, just like in this one, that's $14.99. Their stock Sabre stuff that has all of these enhancement with just their Sabre rail it's under $1,000. Like, and so what I'm trying to tell you is that the Sabre lineup is the rifle that you could recommend for people to upgrade into, because you're getting cold hammer forged barrels, you're getting good triggers, you're getting reliability, you have good QC on the Sabre lineup, and Palmetto State is really upping their game. And Seth actually brought up a good point. He says, we're so quick to boycott companies that don't do the right thing, but when it comes to supporting companies that are doing the right thing, we're not quick to support them. And so this is why I'm saying Palmetto State Armory, as of today in November in 2025, is doing what makes sense for the shooter. They're actually trying to work not only for your Second Amendment rights, but also give you a product that's worthy of upgrading into with high quality gear to make sure that you have the best rifle you possibly can, because they actually care about you. And so, you know, I was super excited about this video, not necessarily because of the product, but because of the mission set of the company, actually trying to connect with you guys and actually will support you in a way that there's some companies in the gun industry that will not do that, as we all know who some of those companies are. So my recommendation, Palmetto State Armory, keep doing what you're doing. Great job. Keep pushing out stuff, listening to the pulse of the shooters. And now after that rant, I'll go into the encouraging word. Hopefully you guys got something out of that video. You know, there is no perfect company. There is no perfect person. I am probably one of the most imperfect people that exists out there. I can't remember anything. I don't remember names. I, don't know how to do mechanical stuff. I just keep putting oil in the car whenever it's running funny. Inside joke. But it's interesting to see how much comfort we can have in the Lord, because if we look at the Bible, He likes to use imperfect people. And there might be some of you out there who think, I don't know how God could use me. Or maybe you don't know the Lord and you're like, man, I've sinned too much. My past is too checkered. Well, let me give you some examples about people who were not perfect that God used. Matthew, the disciple, was a tax collector. Literally, he worked for the IRS. Nobody likes a tax collector, and he was that dude that was considered a traitor to his people because he collected taxes for the Romans. Noah was a drunkard. He used Noah to be able to save humanity from the flood in the book of Genesis and also build the ark. But Noah had an alcohol problem. Moses was a murderer. Moses, who led the Israelites out of Egypt and led Israel as a nation and helped forge that nation in the Old Testament, he murdered an Egyptian, and he had to flee from Egypt and go into the wilderness because he was a murderer. Paul was a radical extremist and a persecutor. He literally was going out, working for the Pharisees, persecuting and killing Christians and rounding them up and putting them into prison, literally hostile against Jesus himself and anybody who supported Jesus, and God used him. Peter was a blue-collar worker with anger issues that also would deny you if things didn't go the way that he wanted. And we see this when God is with the disciples and Jesus is with Peter, and it feels like Jesus is constantly having to counsel Peter, like, come on, man, don't do this, don't do that. And Peter was just a hothead, and God used him to build his church upon. David, the warrior, the King David, who was the father of King Solomon, the man of wisdom of the Old Testament, was an adulterer. Not only was he a warrior who slayed thousands of warriors in battle, but he also was an adulterer. He found another woman who was not his wife. This woman was married to one of his commanders who was loyal to King David, and he actually had a scheme where he had the commanders that were in battle put this woman's husband, who was a commander in David's army and loyal to King David, up near the front line so he would be killed by the archers, so that way he could steal his wife. Jonah, the prophet, was rebellious. In fact, God told him, I want you to go to Nineveh, and he literally went the opposite direction. Kind of sounds like me in my younger life when, I felt like my parents were telling me, hey, you should go into ministry, and I'm like, I'm going to go the opposite direction. I want to do what I want to do. Jonah was rebellious against God, but God still used him in such a magnificent way, not only to speak to him, but also save a city from judgment. So we see all these different characters, and there's so many other characters in the Bible that were imperfect, but God really likes to see those who are imperfect, who have a checkered past, to be the champions for His kingdom. So if you think that, I'm not good enough for serving the Lord, I'm not good enough to have a relationship with Him, don't let that lie from Satan, steer you away from knowing God. First off, he designed you for a magnificent purpose, an eternal purpose. He designed you exactly the way he wanted you made because you have a job that he has for you that's going to be so fulfilling, that's going to give you your identity in him, that you don't need to chase after the lies that the world's going to put into your heart to try to make you feel fulfilled and happy. And also, what Satan's going to do, he's like a lawyer, right? He's a lawyer that when he goes up before the Lord, he'll point, okay, you see what Dave's doing? You see what Chris is doing? Look, see, here's how he failed you. Here's how he sinned. He doesn't love you, God. He did this, and this. He stole from his parents, or he's not being kind to his coworkers, or he cheated on his wife, or he's looking at pornography, or he's greedy and he's swindling someone out of this deal. And Satan is constantly pointing the finger, always accusing you of how you've fallen short. And Jesus comes into that courtroom and says, no, wait, God, I paid for that. Father in heaven, I paid for that on the cross. I died for those sins. Yes, he did do those things, but I've already paid for it. My blood on the cross and the resurrection that I had 3 days after paid for that. It is atonement and covered that. And we were given that payment even though we didn't deserve it, because God has a huge plan for your life and he knows exactly how fulfilling it's going to be and how awesome you're going to be at it, because he made you specifically for that purpose. So don't let Satan define you based off of your past. Satan defines you based off of the accusations he has from your past, and don't let that sin define who you are. You are a child of God, you are a prince of the kingdom of heaven, and he's designed you for an amazing purpose. And the fact that you are imperfect makes you human. We're all imperfect. But the good thing is that God gives us that amazing grace and that salvation in him, saying, hey, I don't need you to be perfect. I just need you to trust me, to have that relationship with me, to allow me to carry the weight and burdens of life and the weight and burdens of your past. I've paid for that already on the cross, and I love you, and I want you to be in my kingdom as my adopted child and reign with me, and I have a job for you that is so epic that God created you specifically for that purpose, and you're the only one that can do it. And so if you're going through a hard time in life, if you are struggling with the weight of guilt and what you've done in the past, or you feel like God can't use you, don't listen to that lie. If you need a prayer request or you're curious about who God is, email me at team@barrelhatchet.com. I'd love to pray for you. Just like myself, guys, I'm a brother with you in this community. I'm nobody special, but I am proud to be a servant of God, and it is my job to serve you guys, the community. So let's all train to be the eternal asset. My name is Eric, and I'll see you on the next one.